was no train station, there was no downtown. Cell tower had disappeared. All my favorite places, my city had been pulled down, reduced to parking spaces. Hey, oh, where to go, Ohio?
Today's adventure will take me on the locations used for the 2003 film American Splendor, which was filmed here in Lakewood, Ohio, which is where I am currently driving, and Cleveland, Ohio, which is, oh, just a few miles away. Lakewood is a suburb of Cleveland. Now, when I set out to do this location, the movie locations for this movie, this was going to be a make or break effort based on me being able to find one particular location. And what I mean by that is I'm referring to the apartment, Harvey's Apartment, where later Harvey and Joyce lived together. The reason I say that is it was not a location that I could find the address for anywhere. Now, while some people might think, well, how hard can that be? Find a still shot or an image of Harvey's apartment, drive around the city and look for something that matches up. And while I agree I would typically do that in a lot of cases, it doesn't work in this one. The reason for that are there are tons and tons of apartments that look just like Harvey's scattered throughout Lakewood. If you look at some of these buildings that I'm passing, one after another, they look very similar. A lot of them look very similar to the facade of Harvey's apartment. So after all the searching, digging and digging, I finally located the building that was used. This one right here in front of me was the apartment building of Harvey in the movie American Splendor. Now, as I said, basically all I had to go off of was this facade here in the front. They don't really give you any other hints or tips to track this location down. You see how right here the address is visible on the door, but during filming that was never shown. And as I said, this area is loaded with these kind of buildings. Look down here, they all sort of resemble one another. When you look towards the other direction, the same kind of thing. And they're all over the city like this. But once I found this building, there were a few particular things that I was looking for that others have that this one does, but there were some small little details that stood out that let me know this is indeed the one that I'm looking for. First thing was right here, three steps up, 1, 2, 3. The next thing I was looking for are these pillars. So you have this little, it's like a small little porch entryway that is here, but there's a pillar that is flush up against a brick here, and there's one back in here. The two windows above, right above the entryway, was a key part, but I'm telling you again, they're everywhere. Look, two windows. I mean, a lot of them have the little awnings of the porches on the front, the steps, so over and over. So I really started looking at this building closer, and this is something that I noticed. Do you see the bricks right here, how they differ in coloring? So they almost have like a lighter shade. It's like they're staggered as they come up along the framing of the building. You can see, if I back out, that there's almost like a lighter coloring on some of them. See right here? That was visible in that scene of Harvey. Now, all that I had to work with for this location was, in the movie, early on, they show Harvey walking down the sidewalk, and he passes by this building, on his way up the sidewalk. So that's all that you see. But when they did the pan like this and comes to this building, I started studying it. That's when I saw that. But it also, I did a freeze frame of this direction, of these buildings right here, and they helped solidify it. The first thing that I noticed, this interesting little awning that's on here. See how it's connected? It has like these two little mounts. They're like lion's heads. I don't know if you can see that. They're like the heads of a lion, and then the chains are like affixed to that. And this little diagram here, it has like it's like a rectangle with the little light colored corners. That was something that when I saw in that scene as they panned over to this building, I thought, well, that's it. And if I needed one more thing, this was the selling point. 100% sealed the deal. Look at the staggered rooftop of this. It almost looks like a set of stairs right here and right there. That's visible in that shot. It was just it was a very quick glimpse. I mean, it was like just maybe like 2 seconds that he passed by these two buildings before he went to this apartment over here. But if it weren't for those 2 seconds, I probably wouldn't have been able to completely match this up, because once I found facades that looked similar to this, I was starting to look for buildings that were next to it that had that. Because I'm telling you, this building, you've seen this building, you've seen them, like probably a ton of them through Lakewood. They look very similar. Now they do show Harvey sitting right out here on the step. So Paul Giamatti's character was literally sitting right here. Joyce was sitting right here next to him. They also show where Paul, I'm sorry, not Paul, Paul Giamatti's character, when Harvey comes, he locked himself out, and this was his apartment in the movie. So he's literally like hanging, like he put his hands right up here on the window, and he's like pulling himself up. You can see this brick in that scene.
Hey, Joyce! Open the door! I forgot my keys again, Joyce.
Well, they show him kind of climbing the window, and he's telling her to, I think he was hollering for Joyce to open the door or something to that effect. And then there's one more thing that's here. When you step in, right here, you'll remember they show these mailboxes, and Harvey's would have been this one right here. So Paul Giamatti, they show him key into this mailbox, opens it up, and you can still see the two doors down this one. You can still see that top lockbox. That's visible in that shot. But there would have also been a phone that would have been mounted right on the wall, right over there. The shot from like this angle was kind of a door here. Let me see if I can close it. They kind of show it from like this angle when he's opening that mailbox. And then you can kind of see out the lobby door in a few scenes as well. Now, I don't know if the exteriors, I don't know if all the interiors were actually shot here or not, but this would have been the apartment right here. So I'm guessing that they were, but I don't know that for a fact. So it's very possible. If not, they were obviously done on a sound stage, but this is the apartment that would have been used right here for American Splendor. Okay, I'm here in Cleveland, Ohio, and this is a location that was used in the movie American Splendor. This would have been where the bus stop was, where Harvey and Bob were sitting in the bus stop. There would have been a sign right here that said Zone Travel, I believe. The bus stop would have been right between this pillar and that pillar. Right where this bench is, there would have been a framed in enclosure that Bob and Harvey were sitting in, and they were talking. And at one point, a bus, I think the opening scene literally has a bus sitting here, and then it pulls away and you can see this spot.
Once he came to visit when I was feeling real bad. It was right after my wife left me. She got so mean to me at the end.
Looks very much the way it did back during filming. Obviously the bus stop, the shelter itself is gone. They have like a more modern one that's over here now. It's still a bus stop, but I'm gonna go across the street and show you a little bit, a close-up of the spot. All right, so I came across the street, and right here's that bench that I was pointing out. This is where the bus shelter would have been. So when you were here, the shelter would have been right here, looking in. And they actually show a couple scenes in this direction of the guys sitting in the bus shelter.
And it ain't like I tried to keep her captive or anything like that, you know? I don't know, man. Yeah, but don't think I buy in any of this growth crap, man.
But when I spin around here, this is the building that I was showing you across the street that said Zone Travel. I think that's what it said, Zone Travel. It was right across this banner. And you can see this pillar and that pillar frame the bus stop. And there's a couple other things to let you know this is the exact location. Take a look at this decorative masonry that's here in the brickwork. I don't know the specific term for it, so you have to excuse me, but see how it has that rectangular one, and then it comes down and it has this little piece across here. You have the same thing there. That's visible. There were different lights. There were like light globes that were on there now. Now you have these more modern lights that are on there, but you can see that as well as this doorway. But this is where that bus stop scene would have been shot, where Harvey and Bob were sitting here in this location for that scene in American Splendor. Okay, I'm here in Cleveland, Ohio, another location for the movie American Splendor. So this would have been the grocery store. It would have had a sign on the front of it here that I think it said Food Center. It was sort of hard to read. It was sort of blurry. Looks pretty much the way it did back when filming was here, except for a couple things. One, this decorative tower thing was not on the building. And two, instead of the entrance and exit being right here, it was on this side of the building. So you can see this glass block window. That was not there during filming. It was, this was all open. So you would have seen like a woman coming out of the building here with a shopping cart. And this side would have just been all windows down along the sidewalk. Like it would have been all like storefront all the way down. But you can still see up above this awning, you can still see on the main part of the building where it was flush. So they have this, if you were to look above this awning here now, that's where the Food Center sign would have been. Okay, I'm here in Cleveland, Ohio, and this is a very recognizable scene that was used in American Splendor. As you can see, the sign right up here, Shays Restaurant. Actually, one of the scenes that they show this of this restaurant is simply just of the sign itself, kind of like that. But this is the restaurant that Harvey and Bob were in, and later they show Harvey himself. You can clearly see right here on the window, Shays Restaurant. I'm gonna go inside and show you what it looks like now. Okay, so this is the booth that was used in American Splendor. This is the booth that Harvey was sitting in right here, Bob was sitting in right there. And if you look out the window, you can see Shays Restaurant. That was very visible in that scene.
It could be more of an art form, you know, like those French movies are.
And so this is where he was talking about doing the skit for his the sketchings for his comic.
Wow, man! You would really do that for me, man?
But this is the booth that they shot that scene in. And then right over here, you're gonna see this curved little table. Harvey would have been sitting right here, and they shot another scene back towards him, sitting right here at this spot. But this is the booth where they filmed that scene right here in Shays Restaurant. Okay, so I'm in Lakewood, Ohio, and this was the bakery that Harvey goes to when he ran into Alice inside. Alice from college, she runs into him, but he goes in here to get some baked goods, and you can see this sign very visible in the window, that's Elmwood Home Bakery. Looks pretty much the way it did during filming from what I can remember. But they show him walk in, obviously opens the door and goes inside. And that's when he goes in there and Alice recognizes him. They strike up a conversation.
$3? You're Harvey Picar.
Yeah?
Alice Quinn from school.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. College. Yeah, we had a couple of lit classes together.
And then after they talk inside the bakery, he walks her out to her car. So they obviously come out this door right here and walk down the sidewalk.
You know, I'm reading this book by Dreiser now. Jenny Gerhardt.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah?
And her car would have been parked right about here.
This is me.
Oh, all right. Nice car.
And he was kind of looking at it from this angle, but they were shooting it from this way, so you didn't even see her car. He's kind of looking down at it, and he's like, oh, you have, you know, like, nice car or whatever. I don't have one yet. But she would have been parked right here at this spot. And then they show a scene across the street back towards it of them having a conversation before she drives away, and I'll walk over there and show you what that looks like here in a second. Okay, so this is an exterior shot of the bakery. So the bakery is right there. So when Harvey and Alice come out, they walk down the sidewalk from the bakery. They walk right down to her car, which is not far. But her car was parked just a little bit ahead of where this little SUV is. It would have been parked like right here. And you can see that fire hydrant right in the shot. But this is where they shot that angle, right exactly where I'm shooting this. Alice's car would be like right here, and she gets in her car and drives away, and then Harvey's just kind of left standing right there on the curb. But this is where they shot that scene. It looks exactly the same pretty much as it did back when they filmed it. The facades of these buildings have still retained that look. They haven't done much to change it, and this is where they shot that scene. So this is the bridge that Harvey would have been walking across, played by Paul Giamatti. This is the angle he would have been walking in. Of course, there wasn't snow here, but it really is a bridge over the highway, as you can clearly see. Very recognizable the way there's an opening right here. You got the grate with the opening here. The fencing, it's kind of curved and bent and goes all the way down. So they show him walking in this direction.
All I did was think about Jenny Gerhardt and Alice Quinn and all the decades of people I have known.
And then he kind of gets farther and farther.
The more I felt like crying.
One of the ways you can tell this is the way that they shot this, and this is the ramp that they used, is this building that's over here. Now in the image, it's kind of brought in like this.
Life seems so sweet and so sad and so hard to let go of in the end.
And that's a little harder to see over there in the distance, but that's an old school, and you can see that visible in the shot. And then at one point, they show Harvey just standing here at the bridge, looking in this direction, and you can see that median, that grass strip with the split at the ramp, all of that's visible in the shot.
Just keep on working and something's bound to turn up.
Okay, I'm here in Lakewood, Ohio, and this is another location that was used in the movie American Splendor. This building right here would have been Comets. This is the building that was supposed to be in Delaware. It was supposed to be a comic store in Delaware that Joyce worked in, but it is here in Ohio with many of the other locations for this movie. A couple things that made this place pretty easy to find. I didn't have a physical address, but I started combing the area, and it's obviously a very small little building. So that's what I was looking for. As soon as I found a small building, it had the alleyway right here. That's where the Volkswagen Bug, I think it was like red, white, and blue, would have been. And then this building right beside it to the right is still visible. You can see that peaked roof, and the coloring of the building is very much the same as well. You can even see this tree. This tree, they show, they basically show it from where I'm standing. Tree was smaller, but it's still the same tree. You can tell by the way the umbrella of the branches that are growing at the top of it. You can tell that it's still the same tree, it's just older now. But this would have been the building that Joyce was working in, the comic store. Very recognizable little rectangular projection on the top of the roof as well. I don't know how clear it's coming through on here, sort of shooting into the sun. But that's all visible. This is really the only scene that they show of it from the exterior is across the street like I'm showing you here. Okay, I'm now across the street. And if you remember, there were like comics taped all over the windows of this store, so you couldn't even really see in. It was all, you got the large window here, another one there, the smaller window over here, but you couldn't see anything. It was all like covered with comic pages, and when they were in the inside and you were shooting towards the street, you could see the light coming through the windows of the building, but you couldn't see like directly in. So it's a business now, and it's not a comic. And if I put this up against the window, straight ahead there would have been the counter where the cash register and everything. That's where Joyce would have been standing behind the counter. Okay, this location is in Fairview Park, Ohio. It's obviously called Jean's Place, as you can clearly see here. And this is the restaurant that Harvey takes Joyce after you know, they meet and they go to dinner for the first time. They come to this location. It's in a plaza. You see this is at the very end. It's just at the very end of a plaza. But it's actually a really cool place inside. It looks, the decor is very much like you see in the movie. Not a lot of it has changed from that standpoint. Has a cool look and feel for it inside. A lot better than you would think based off of a location kind of stuck at the end of a plaza. But I'll go inside and show you the exact table they used when they filmed the scene where they were having dinner. This booth right here, or this table I should say, is the table that Harvey and Joyce came and had dinner.
What's wrong?
Nothing.
Something's wrong. You keep looking around everywhere.
I guess I never imagined you'd eat in a place like this.
What, me? No, I've never been here.
And this was the exact booth that they used. And in the background, you could actually see that window off to the left. Harvey would have been sitting over here, and Joyce would have been over here on the right.
Good evening.
Another thing that you see in that shot are these globes, very recognizable.
I thought you'd like it. But obviously you don't, do you?
It's fine. What difference does it make?
When they shot that scene. But this restaurant is called Jean's Place. This is the location that they used to film that scene where the two of them were having dinner together here in American Splendor. The location I'm showing you is obviously a McDonald's right across the street. But for the movie American Splendor, this was the location of the movie theater that was supposed to be in Toledo, Ohio, where Harvey, Toby, and Joyce went to go see The Revenge of the Nerds.
What a crock of shit, man. It's just not the point.
I think you missed the whole point of the movie.
I like the pink. Where the hell am I supposed to find a point in garbage, Joyce?
Unfortunately, the movie theater is gone. It's sat literally on the footprint of where this McDonald's is right here. So from this street down to about where that market is right there is where the land sat that had the movie theater. The theater would have kind of been like in this like main portion of the lot that I'm showing you. And then there was a store on the left and right. Looked like a little store or something that was on the left and right of the theater. But it would have been one building, as I said, stretched from about here over to here. It's not as much of a footprint for McDonald's because they needed the drive here to drive up for the drive-through in the parking lot area. But it was not filmed in Toledo as they said they were going, you know, in the movie. And I'll show you something else. You can actually see, I'm gonna splice in an overlay of the picture of the theater. You can actually see this market right here in the picture that I'm gonna show you. But the movie theater would have literally lined up, the marquee would have literally lined up where I'm standing, right here. So the movie marquee would have had, you know, Revenge of the Nerds on the sign. I think it said Detroit Theater, but the theater would have been right here. Straight ahead from where I'm standing is where the main doors were for the entryway.
The guys in that movie are not 28-year-old file clerks who live with their grandmother in an ethnic ghetto.
Now, after the movie, Joyce, Harvey, and Toby would have come walking out the door right across the street, and they would have come over here to where their car was parked. The car was parked right here.
That's enough,
They
Harvey.
didn't get their computers the way you did.
So I'll come over here and show you. Car would have been parked right on this curb, right here.
But this Revenge of the Nerds ain't reality.
So they show the three of them coming across the street. As I said, the doors to the movie theater were here. They come walking out and they're discussing the movie. Harvey clearly didn't like it as much as Toby and Joyce did. And it was kind of funny because he was sort of getting irritated about how much they enjoyed it. And it's funny because that scene sort of reminds me of something from a Seinfeld episode. I was a huge fan of the Seinfeld series, and it sort of reminded me of something that you would have seen happen with George, Jerry, and Elaine. Okay, so here's another location that was used in American Splendor. This building right here would have been the White Castle hamburgers, White Castle fast food restaurant that was used in American Splendor. And if you remember, there was a scene where Harvey comes here because Toby was doing a video shoot for MTV. So Harvey would have been walking. There's a sidewalk here, it's under snow, but he would have been walking right along here. And the thing that I was able to figure out that this was the location they used was actually this building right across the street, right there. If I zoom in on it, look at the top of it. See how it has that little rectangle area on the front facade that kind of projects upward? You can see that in the scene when Harvey is walking here onto the set. And you can also see that building briefly, but they kind of show him walking in this direction and you could see those in the background. And as he comes over here, they're actually renovating the inside of this. So you're gonna see some debris right here. But when Harvey walks up here, there was like a table set up for, like, you know, food for the staff, for everybody who was here filming with the crew. There were some donuts there, and he asked if they were free. And he picks up like a white powder donut, I think, and he's eating. He takes a bite of it and starts walking.
It is free.
As a result of my appearances on Letterman, my buddy Toby Radloff landed a gig extolling the virtues of MTV.
When he comes right over here, he steps on like a prop and a guy gets, you know, upset with him.
Hey, yo, watch where you're going.
You can see Toby sitting right over here. Now, Toby's my favorite character in American Splendor. Just the guy who played him, I forget his name, but he does a great job. He really pegged him. He really nailed the real character. But Toby would have been sitting right here.
Look at this. Man of the hour.
So when Harvey walks over to see him, he was sitting in a chair right up against this rail. And this rail was still here during filming. This was a White Castle, as I said. It's gone. I think it's being converted into like a Dunkin' Donuts now. But you'll see these windows here. There's that doorway with the rail, and Toby's chair would have been right here, and he was getting his hair done. And that's when Harvey walks up to him and he's talking about how he's getting his new due for like MTV or something like that.
This is my new due for the MTV generation.
I'm glad I was able to find this location. This one was a little tricky because, as I said, I don't know how many White Castles are still around, but this one has been gone for quite a while. And those buildings across the street were definitely helpful. That's what helped me know this was exactly where they shot it. So American Splendor right here. Okay, so I'm here in Cleveland, and this is another filming location that was used for American Splendor. As you can see, the Hollering Park skating rink. This is the ice skating rink that Joyce and Danielle were ice skating in, and Harvey went with them, but he was just sitting on the stands eating some pizza. But this is an open air ice skating rink. So it obviously has the roof, as you can see here, but this is all open air. There's no walls. These are the boards for for hockey, and the sheet of ice is inside. Now I can't get all the way inside, because of COVID and everything right now, but I can kind of walk up here and show you a little bit closer what it looks like. So there's obviously an exterior fence here, and then let me slip the camera here. Okay, so here's the boards for hockey, the glass, and the sheet ice is right out there. Now, if you look directly across the rink, I'm going to point to some houses that are over here. You can kind of see them through the glass, and I apologize. I know there's a glare. I'll zoom in a little. Right over here, there's some bleachers. They're hard to see, but you can kind of see through the glass what I'm talking about. That's where Harvey was sitting when Joyce and Danielle were ice skating. And you can see that white house. Let me back out here. There's a white house that's right behind those bleachers when he was sitting there eating pizza. You can see that behind him when they're ice skating.
I was scared at first, but then I thought, what the hell? She's a good kid.
When right in the beginning of the scene where they're showing Joyce and Danielle out on the ice, they're shooting it from this direction, and you'll see there's a car parked right here. See the road right here? You'll see a car kind of driving slowly in that direction. That was one of the angles they shot, but right over here is the building that you would like go to check in, you know, pay your way into the ice. So this is separate. You can see what I'm saying, how it's open air. This is all an open enclosure here. It's not an enclosed sheet of ice.
With a real mother running around who knows where, and seeing how well her and Joyce got on.
This is all open air. And then right over there are those bleachers. Let me go down here a little further and show you. All right, that's a little bit better. But right over there are the bleachers. I'll zoom in. You can see them a little more clearly at this angle. So that's where Harvey would have been sitting, eating his pizza when they were skating, and there's that White House behind them.
I was scared at first, but then I thought, what the hell? She's a good kid.
This is the rink that they used, Cleveland, Ohio, for the scene of when they went ice skating. Okay, so I'm at Lakeview Cemetery in Cleveland, Ohio, and I thought I would add a little something to wrap this video up that would be fitting. This is the final resting spot for Harvey Pekar. He's buried here at this cemetery, and you know, while it's wintertime here, it's hard to see a lot of what you would normally be able to walk around and see in this cemetery, but it's a very well-known cemetery. There's a lot of notable people who are buried here. Some very interesting headstones that are throughout, but it's basically a park setting. There's a number of ponds. It's very wooded. There's a lot of wooded sections, beautiful hillsides, mature trees, and I'm going to go ahead and show you where Harvey Pekar is resting. Okay, so I'm going to come over here and show you where Harvey Pekar's resting spot, his final resting spot, is. Right here. You can see Harvey Pekar, 1939 to 2010, beloved husband and guardian. And then I like the caption at the bottom, life is about women, gigs, and being creative. And when I was doing some research on American Splendor and Harvey Pekar, I didn't know a whole lot about him, but I learned a tremendous amount after tracking the locations down, watching the movie, reading up some things. One of the things I found extremely interesting was what people do when they come here to pay their respects to his final resting spot, and that is this. Now, I don't know if you can see because there's a good bit of snow on the ground, but all of these things that you see out here are pens and pencils that people have come and left in the ground, paying their respects as a tribute to Harvey Pekar. And I thought this was incredibly cool. It's a little hard to see because of the amount of snow. There's several inches on the ground now, so you can only see the tops of them. But these are all pens and pencils stuck in the snow, into the ground, right here at his grave. And they're all over the place. There's some that are even buried that you can't even see. They're very cool. And I have a whole new appreciation for who Harvey Pekar was, what he stood for, and what he meant to a lot of people simply by doing some research, tracking down these locations. So when I realized that he was buried at this cemetery, which I've been to before, I wanted to track down his grave, and I found it. And I thought I would also, you know, pay my respects, even though I didn't know him, but you know, pay a tribute to. I enjoyed the movie, hearing about his story, his comics, what he meant and thought of Cleveland, and I thought I would do the same. So I'm going to go ahead and leave a pen here myself today. And this is it. So Harvey Picar's final resting spot here in Lakeview Cemetery, Cleveland, Ohio. And with that, I'm going to end this video. Hope you've all have enjoyed it, and take care.